Okay, hello again. In this presentation, I'm going to give a brief introduction to the REGIO1st Planning Framework and specifically to outline how Stage 4, which is about the exploration of the current regional energy system, is placed in the framework. In my presentation, I'm going to give a few details about the planning framework, and later I will delve in the different steps that are included in Stage 4, but briefly. Starting with the REGIO1st Planning Framework, as probably most of you may know, under the REGIO1st project, we have developed the planning framework, which is aparted by 8 stages. Today's training is about the Stage 4, and which is about the regional energy system. This stage includes 4 steps and one tool that has been developed to support planners implement the 4 steps. The main objective of Stage 4 is to help planners identify and explore the current regional energy system, and this is going to be done by gathering all the relevant data needed to analyze the patterns that they will identify by the data, and to identify other relevant infrastructures and other key aspects about the energy system. Giving more information about the 4 steps. In the first step of Stage 4, the planners need to create the regional energy inventory. They need to gather data to do so, and the data are going to be about the regional energy production, the current energy productions, which includes in most cases fossil fuels. We need data about the regional energy production plants, and of course the energy consumptions about per sector and energy source. They can use various sources of data available in regional level or national in some cases, and this source may be regional and national statistical institutes and offices, maybe data from the utilities, industry reports, other technical or academic reports and publications, and in some few cases, other regional energy inventories available. Here it is important to say that to have and acquire accurate and comprehensive data is essential for developing a successful baseline energy inventory, a meaningful inventory, to understand also the current regional energy system, and later, when developing a regional energy plan, to set realistic targets. Here, in step 4.1, we have also included a newly developed tool, the Energy Inventory Data Collection Template, which is going to be presented by Hira in one of the next presentations. In the second step of Stage 4, we have the analysis of the energy consumption patterns by sector. Here the planners will use the data collected in the previous step, in step 4.1, so as to become able to analyze the energy consumption by sector, and to derive the consumption patterns in the different sectors. In most cases, these sectors are the residential, the commercial, and the transportation. In this analysis, they should consider factors and indicators such as the energy demand, energy intensity, and other types of energy sources used in each sector. It is important to understand well the consumption patterns, because this can help planners to identify opportunities to increase energy efficiency and other measures for energy savings and switching fuels from fossil fuels to renewables and increase energy usage and lower energy usage. In step 3, we have the evaluation of the existing energy infrastructure. The planners here should evaluate the existing energy infrastructures available in the region. And this can be done by considering factors such as their rates, the condition, their capacity, and their efficiency. And this can be done in production, distribution, and storage facilities. So in all parts of the chain. Also, they need to evaluate their availability and accessibility regarding renewable energy production and plants. This assessment will help planners to identify critical aspects such as constraints and opportunities to include in their regional energy plan that are related with the infrastructures existing in the region. And in the final step of stage 4, we have the engagement of the stakeholders. The planners in this step should engage the stakeholders so as to review their findings from their previous 3 steps of data gathering and analysis. And this can be done by various methods such as workshops, meetings, and engagement activities available in their context. They need to do this so as to present the data and the analysis gathered before, and in that way they will receive feedback and insights from the stakeholders. This final step is considered very important because in that way they will validate the information they have gathered, and they will ensure, meaning the planners ensure that all the aspects, the stakeholders and the society have been considered in this stage, building in that way consensus and ownership of the challenges and the opportunities of the current regional energy system. We have also available online the online version of the planning framework. Here you can have the link of the online framework, and in the animation we can see all this information presented before about the stage 4 and the 4 steps of stage 4 in the online planning framework. Clicking getting started, and after that clicking stage 4, we can see the 4 different steps, the information, the instructions to the planners, the tool that has been developed. Here you can download the tool, and there is also some extra resources and material like further readings for the planners, so as they be assisted in this task of stage 4. That's all for me about stage 4 within the REGIO1st Planning Framework. In the next presentations, we will see more details about the 4 steps of stage 4, as well as lessons learned and some examples of data gathering and all the information needed and tasks needed under task 4, stage 4.
Okay, so today looking at the data collections part section of the stage 4. We'll go through quickly the energy management system, the energy data collection, search the data sources. We'll be breaking that down between building equipment facilities, local production of energy, and then after we'll look separately to the transport sector. So first was the set of the energy management system. So there it's important just to try to get someone to look at that management system, or to have an energy manager. It will be tasked to analyze the energy supply, consumption, and costs of to secure to make sure that to look at the quality of the energy supply. That energy manager will be looking at the energy audit for different buildings. It'll be looking at the renewable energy supply, and as well the energy action plan and the measures for the upgrades of buildings. That person communicate between the different decision makers and the management side of the local authority, and after the different people acting on site, so facility managers and people that are accountable for the energy use of the buildings or equipment or others. We're looking at the measurement of the environmental impacts as well. Try to create long-term strategy on energy management, and again fit that into the the action plan will fit into the long-term strategy. And then after it'll be as well tasked to look at the monitoring, making sure that the savings have been achieved, and if possible, they educate, motivate, and raise the awareness of all the employees in the organization. So again, when you look at the energy management, we're looking at collecting the energy data, analyzing the data. Like when you say we will be try to say that get the measures, identify what measures need to be completed, implement those measures, and then after the control and the monitoring of those. As for the energy management system, again, we have the first stage where we look at the acquisition of the energy data. So we'll be looking at the building stock. So it's important to know what the local authorities or what the region, what is the building stock in the region. So you need to first thing there, mainly for the municipality, you want to make sure that you don't miss any buildings, that you are able to collect the data on a regular interval for those buildings. Preferably, you want to make sure that when you collect the data, you have a software there that helps you to make sure that's collected everything, and after potentially later on for the analysis of the data, and again after it to potentially help you again for the analysis, and then later on for the energy audits. So for that there, again, if you look, we'll have the data. You'll have data that you collect on a regular basis, and after that data will help you. It can be used later on to to fill out that energy data collection template that was developed. Step 2 will be to the processing and the analyzing of the energy data. I believe that's the next step, next presentation. So again, there'll be another tool, and then after the implementation of energy actions, with the different tools again there developed through the project. So for the energy data, again, the European targets will have used 1990 as the baseline. So that would be a recommendation for some of the plans that you'll have. However, you're free to choose the year for which you can get the most comprehensive and reliable energy data. So could happen that you put the monitoring in place on some sort of monitoring of some of your buildings in place, so you're not able to go back to 1990, but you can go back to the year you installed that monitoring system. So you can choose something you can choose a year that is more recent. For example, in Ireland, we've been using 2018 there recently for our local action plan, and that was a national guidelines. The main point would be to always keep the same baseline year, even if you change targets. So like when you develop that report for basically for 2030, for example, we'll be looking at 2050. When you'll be doing the report for 2050, ideally you'll want to use the same baseline as your previous report. When you talk about energy data, there's a few gatekeepers. The public authorities, they will have a lot of data in terms of their own buildings, their own fleet, and then after some of the services. Again, depending on the country, they might not have the same, I suppose, as many buildings, or they might, like the buildings that the building stock will be very different. Some of the local authorities will have access to school data, whereas in others, it will be another department, or from the government. We'll be looking as well at the energy data providers. So, the energy providers shouldn't have the data there. So we'll be looking at the providers of electricity, gas, and then after potentially the heat and cooling. So we'll be talking about looking at as well the transmission system operators, and as well the distribution system operators. And as last, we'll be looking at potentially some of the energy planning facilitators. So basically, a lot of the energy agencies that could have developed in the past regional energy observatories, or can also look at some academic institutions that potentially will be working on those too. The main point here would be that there is no obligation between the EU and national legislative framework for TSOs and DSOs to provide local energy data to public authorities at sub-national level. So what does that mean? That their only obligation is to provide national data in terms of what is the overall use of electricity or gas every year, but they have no obligation to give granular data for, I suppose, a sub-region of the country, which means that sometimes some countries you only have the national data, you might have the regional data, or I suppose county data, and some countries they've been able to get data at a post-code level. So there's a lot of discrepancies between the European countries here. So as I said earlier, like the data can be gathered from a variety of sources. So we'll have the government departments and statistical agencies. Again, that would be part of the national overall data. You can look at the country national greenhouse gas emissions inventory reports. Some of the universities and research institutes. There'll be as well some scientific and technical articles in roundtable books that could have your data. Journals and reports, sector expert stakeholder organizations. Again, we talk about a lot of the energy agencies, and then after in terms of energy production and consumption per sector. So they'll be available from energy statistics reports database periodically published by energy providers and agencies. So again, they don't have to provide that data at the regional level, but you can really go through there later on, or to request data for potentially, and they can give that to you after. So the first step in terms of the data collection would be to complete an initial screening of the available data sources. Again, it is preferable to use local and national data over international data. That's mainly when you're looking at if you were to do any benchmarking for you to get your information. The data should be reliable and robust sources from reliable and robust sources. Again, it should be time and geographically specific. So again, you'll need to look at when you select your baseline, potentially baseline year, you might have to look at I suppose for what year the data is available, and that could help you to make that decision. And again, be specific to your I suppose the territorial boundary, and again, and as well when you select your sectors, you need to check as well about I suppose what energy will be used in those different sectors to make sure that you don't miss any energy type. If you're missing any data, it can be gained by surveys among energy providers, fuel traders, large and industrial enterprises, and other consumers. You can estimate those by extrapolating or scaling, again, using some of the benchmark. Ideally, you want to make sure that you have a national benchmark completed, or that you, if it's international, that you are able to potentially take, I suppose, data that would be coming from, say, a country that would be operating very similarly to yours. Or if you, again, for other data, you'll be looking at potentially completing some measurements yourself. So first thing there, when you're starting to collect the data, you'll be looking at the building sectors. So there's a variety of approach there. So you'll need to develop an estimate of energy consumption in the building sectors. So the different methods are, or you get the data from the municipal and institutional buildings and facilities. So again, we'll go through that after. Getting the data from your original national sources, from the market operators, data from consumer survey, and then after you need to check the data quality and certainty. So when we look at the municipal buildings and equipment facilities, so some of them will have a full energy, I suppose they'll have their own energy management system. So where they are able to, I suppose, collect the information and analyze the information. So for other authorities, if that process is not in place, you will potentially require the following steps there. You need to notify your buildings and equipment that you own or manage. Identify all the delivery points, so all the energy sources. So then after the people that are basically receiving the invoices or the energy data, or people that will be collecting data there, of potentially as well paying for the energies. Potentially, if you go to the accountant, potentially the easiest. When you have that done, you need to try to centralize all the information, and again, if you have a system of software there in place, probably make it easier. And that will be part of the second step there. Select an appropriate system to store and manage the data. Like could be a spreadsheet if you have only a couple of buildings, but if you have more, or if you start to have buildings and equipment, yeah, ideal to get the software in place. There's a lot of different software available commercially. When you collect the data again, you make sure that the data is collected, introduced at least every year. So that you have someone that is, I suppose their task is to make sure that the data is there, has been uploaded on the system. If some system there, they will allow for automation, so you just if there's some sort of a password. If you have an energy provider that allows you to get an account on their website, you can get something automated, and so then after you just have to check every year if that data has been uploaded. Normally they will be uploaded every month. When you're looking at that process, it could be the opportunity to deal with other energy-related issues. So potentially there, when you're collecting all that data, if that data is not made easily available, you could potentially again look at changing providers at that same time. You should as well rationalize the number of energy delivery and voicing points. So looking at making sure that it makes sense. Again, as I say, potentially that's a good step to look at who is the best energy providers for you, and then after you need to look at again, you need to look at try to create that energy management process there for the local territory. When you're getting the data, so you'll be looking at the heating oil and or other energy type that will be delivered as a bulk. So sometimes it'll be as well some of the gas. So for those there, it's preferable to install a measurement device, so a gauge or meter, to help determine exactly the quantity of energy consumed during a given period. There is alternative to that, is to potentially you can assume that the fuel purchased each year is equal to the fuel consumed. This could be a good assumption if the fuel tanks are filled at the same period each year, or if many deliveries of fuel occur each year. So again, you need to, that assumption is only true if you know as well, if you know that the delivery, every time that the fuel will be that is delivered, you'll be filling up the tank to the top, or that every time that you delivery, that's because your tank is fully empty. For the electricity and other, suppose, for there they talk about district heating and cooling, but for like I suppose grid or network supply, it is important that all the fuel supplied for purposes of producing electricity or district heating are tracked and reported separately as fuel used for electricity and fuel used for district heating cooling generation. So you want to make sure that those there you collect that. Normally there should be, I suppose, regular bills or invoicing of those, and then after when you and if you're using it like and there if you're suppose generating any energy on your own site, that you're able to tell what is the energy source and what has been produced, and so like that you can account for the losses. For electricity from renewable sources, again, you need to you'll be looking at the need to look at the origin of the electricity, and if that if the renewable sources are suppose been provided with guaranteed of origin, you'll have your own, like it wouldn't affect your energy consumption, but it will be it will affect your CO2 emissions. And those suppose guarantee of origin can be obtained from your energy supplier. And then after the last one there on that slide, be the public lighting. That data again, that public lighting should be owned by the provided by the local authority. They should have that. They should be able to collect that data on a regular basis. And if it's not the case there in terms of like we see that in Ireland, some of the public lighting would be metered, some of them would be unmetered. So you need to be able to add additional meters, or to be able to estimate what will be the consumption if there's a set condition of set controls or condition of operation. For that data here, when you talk about the building equipment and facilities, we have so here you have the suppose the data collection template. So that's where you can suppose input your consumption or the data that collected. So you have the different fuel type that can be used, and then after you have the different categories in terms of again buildings, facilities, and equipment. And after you'll be looking at the other sectors. And again, and here like for later on, you'll be as well as looking at the energy consumption. You'll be looking at the numbers or areas in terms of buildings. You'll be looking at what's the status of your, I suppose, the renovation status of the different items, and just anything that can help you to identify what are the, I suppose, potential upgrades that can do on the building. I suppose someone else will be talking about that later on. The second way to get the data is to look at the regional and national sources. So first, you can look at the national central database and tools. So I suppose the at EU level several directives include a recommendation for the member states to encourage and facilitate the implementation of the Sustainable Energy Action Plan at local level, and in some member states like Netherlands, Denmark, and Cyprus, so in the UK. This was further supported with development at central databases and to provide local specific data to local authorities. So for all of you there, the first thing that you need to do is check if the data is already available at regional and national level. So they'll have statistical, energy, environmental, and economic ministries or agencies, or from regulatory or authorities for gas and electricity. So again, sometimes you'll have a central statistic office that will collect all that information and potentially break that down per region. And they'll be looking at often enough that at least they might be collecting all that data from the energy provider, when the the main organization generating the electricity or gas. They'll get that data from the regional energy and greenhouse gas emission observatories. So some of those observatories existed before the Common of Mayor, and they were probably later on they probably extended their data set, or I suppose the observatories, with the help of Data for Action or Energy Watch. So they can propose a collaboration model for local data sharing, in which a third party provides one-stop shop services and is responsible for brokering or collaboration agreements and the data action process between the energy data providers and the local authorities. So in some countries they might be able to, I suppose, do all that data collection work for you, and because they've been able to collect the information with the different, I suppose, key providers. Can also contact the commandant coordinators. So in many regional authorities, particularly the one officially acting as the commandant coordinators, they have taken upon them to provide data to the local authorities under the coordination. And the list of commandant coordinators is available on the Commandant of Mayor's website. Next one would be to get the data from the market operators. So in terms of energy suppliers and grid operators, they might be reluctant to, so supposed to provide consumption data to the local authority because of the confidentiality, commercial secrecy, and administrative burden, especially in the case where many local authorities will ask similar data from the same sector operators. Sorry. So in some cases, if the data is that your request is supposed to granulated, you might they might, in terms of confidentiality, they might be afraid that you are able to allocate, suppose directly energy consumption to one specific user. So they might be reluctant to provide the data, or they might ask you to not publish that data, or to only use that data when you are looking at a wider area. And now the market operators, there's an increasing pressure on the market operators to share data with the LAs, and as well to, that's coming from the, I suppose, since that in Egyptian directive, that they need to provide their data to each of the, I suppose, their clients. So here the article they are saying that the energy market operators, which are designed by the state, should provide on request, but no more than once a year, aggregated statistical information on their final consumers, including, where applicable, customer segmentation and geographical location of customers to an agency assigned by the government. So again, sometimes the agency assigned by the government will be, I suppose, unique. For example, in Ireland, it will be only the Sustainable Energy Agency of Ireland. So any other regional agencies that could be requesting the data wouldn't get that data, because that will only be given to that first one. Sometimes it might be easier to contact the grid operators instead of the energy suppliers, as they again, the energy suppliers can be, in terms of confidentiality, they might only deal with their own consumers, not the local authorities.
Johan, I apologize for cutting across you, but I know you've got 12 slides still to go. You've only got 5 minutes left.
Okay. Well,
Thank you.
Further, faster then. Skip that one. Like we can get the data for consumer surveys. So again, for you'll be looking, I suppose when you didn't get the data for, or not any specific data for your energy providers or others, you can just complete a survey. Again, you'll be looking at the different options. I skip that one. In terms of data, local production of energy, you need to go, suppose you can, different methods there to just look at the capacity that has been installed, estimate what has been produced, or contact directly your local, I suppose, try to get the operator, the direct operator, and again, or you do a request, or they might publish themselves the information. In terms of local data production, again, after we'll be looking at the same thing, similar thing for heat and cold. You need to make sure that for that one, that you need to know where that energy is used. If it's used inside your territory, or if it's used outside the territory, you might have to suppose again when you're doing the analysis, you need to, if you know how much has been produced, you need to know as well where it has been used, and potentially you only allocate or account for, say, 50 or 75% of the energy uses of, if that has been exported outside of your territory. So here, just again, for that section, I suppose the tool that has been developed, that's the section that you can fill in terms of, I suppose, renewable energy. For each type of energy, you need to fill out or the amount of energy produced or the installed capacity. Similar thing for combining heat and power, and then after for this, if you have any district heating. Last one there will be the transport sector. So you need to suppose break down the sector by transit mode. You look at the on-road transportation, railway, waterborne transportation, aviation, and off-road transportation. For that one there, again, you'll have to, same thing you have on the spreadsheet. You need to be able to, I suppose, assign consumption per fuel type and per, I suppose, transport mode. Transit mode. If it's possible, you need to identify subcategories within each transit mode. So you need to look again. Potentially, you can look at your municipal fleet. If there's any public transport, if it was private or commercial. It's not always possible, but sorry. You need to ideally you want to specify, I suppose, for each of the individual sectors. I suppose you need to be able to allocate each type of transport to a type of a different sector. Time of commandant of mayor. The data to be collected can mainly concern the road and rail transport. Air and waterborne transport can be excluded. Exception may be the local ferries used for public transport. Road and rail transport should be included if it's serving mainly the local territory and or regulated by the local authority, meaning that you can exclude highways and regional trains if no action are foreseen to be implemented by the local authority. And for the off-road transportation, it should be included only if related actions are foreseen. For road transportation, again, that would be looking at buses, cars, trucks, motorcycles, and on-road waste collection and transportation vehicles. Bus vehicle, so you'll be looking at liquid and gaseous fuels, or you'll be looking at electric and hybrid vehicles can be charged at station within or outside the city. The energy consumption and associated emission in road and transport could be accounted for in different ways. Among the most common methods are, or you look at the fuel sales method, territorial method, residential method, or city-induced method. So that will be there. There are just the basic data and potential source for estimating emission from road transportation. So you'll be looking at all your for the vehicle, you look at the kilometers traveled. So you like the vehicle flow and mileage driven for transport planning purposes. The travel so that you can get from local transport department and public. Travel surveys, including the number of vehicles passing fixed points per unit. So that's when they're looking at traffic volumes, or also transport surveys. So we'll be looking at again surveys. Some surveys count the vehicle numbers by type of vehicle, but so you get the information for the fuel is not usually not available. Can look at the daily average traffic. Can look at the data of your transport infrastructures, or you can look at the big data such as smartphones and other data travel loggers, and that can provide spot details of trips. And again, then after you can look at your vehicle fleet distribution, or your average fuel consumption per kilometer, or as well as your and for that, in terms of data, you need to as well to get your net calorific value in terms of the different energies that can be used. And the last one will be your rail transportation. You can divide that in two parts. So your urban rail transportation. So actually, the inclusion of this urban rail transportation in the baseline emission inventory is strongly recommended. And you can as well, the second part will be the section will be the other transportation, rail transportation. So that's mainly the one covering long distance intercity or regional rail transportation that occurs in the local authority. Those can be included in the BI if the local authority has included measures to reduce this emission in their CCAP. So it's only, again, if you plan to reduce that consumption, you should look at it. Basically, so for the rail transportation, you need to look at the consumption of electricity, and after as well as the consumption of fuel in the diesel locomotives. Generally, when you look at the urban rail, they'll be mainly using electricity. Number of providers of rail transport in local authority is usually low. You're generally recommended to ask the annual electricity and fuel use data directly from the service provider, and to ask them to do a breakdown between the fuel types and potentially the applications.
So the idea for today is just try to slightly show our activities, define activities, and highlight a few of our artifacts we are preparing during the year, like the energy report, the electricity report, or the solar report. Also, I would like to highlight some of our activities around the Just Transition Observatory, because behind this observatory, we have also some data collection activities to finalize with some conclusions. So starting with the main activities of 5, if you have any question, please don't hesitate to raise your hands or directly ask me during the presentation, no problems. So the idea of our activities means our main activities are focused on energy and climate dissemination and support to the regional action there. So from citizen to the regional government. So taking this in mind, 2 of our main activities is advise our policymakers and public authorities from regional governments, council, and municipalities. In this sense, one of our duties is try to prepare assessments and reports for them. In this case, we are annually or quarterly reporting from the energy balance, the regional energy model and balance, and also the electricity production, in between others. Yeah. During this presentation, we try to explain how we are addressing this challenge in these 3 documents: the energy model, the regional energy report, the electricity report, and the solar report. So regarding the first one, the main goals is the collection of mostly all energy data from Asturias region in a yearly basis, and to analyze this information from the energy production, consumption per sectors, and the energy sources. And also provide a detailed compilation and representation of this information, this data, along with a more detailed, like a zoom for the electricity production in Asturias. So our main methodology is quite replicable and used it from time ago. And now in this moment, we are analyzing the possibility to change some steps, avoiding any manual activities to automatize some of them using online service. But in any case, this is the current methodology. So the first one, we try to identify our main objectives of this assessment in order to know what could be the more interesting indicators or key performance indicators in this sense, in this regard. So also we need to select who may be the most relevant providers, as far as sometimes the same data can be collected from different sources or data providers. So the idea is just to identify who could be the proper or more direct way to collect some data. Some examples maybe about the data production or the energy production or consumption, as far as we can collect this information directly from the utilities or energy companies, but also we can collect this information by means of our public authorities, our regional administration. So we have to decide who may be the best provider or quicker provider in each of the data. So we proceed with the preparation of surveys. We are using primarily Word format. Is the point we are moving forward to elaborate these surveys more using another advanced tools and provided online service. But now we are continue using in the previous cycle the Word format, and distribute these surveys in between entities by mail, compile the data, sending periodic reminders. So it's not easy try to obtain properly on time the data, and because the entities, the companies have another issues, important issues to fulfill. So at the end, we need remind once again that we need to compile this information. Sometimes we need require to our highest let's see departments to remind that this is mandatory for them. But in any case, usually finally we are able to compile 90% of the information. But it's a quite tricky point, this collection, this compilation of the data. Once we receive the data, we need to analyze, evaluate the quality of the data, analyzing potential gaps or incorrect data to correct or delete this information before the analytics start to work. So we have not, means fine, currently have not specific analytics to this process, this distillation process, let's see. So all work in preparing data before moving to the analytics to evaluate, assess the final results are manual. So for us, could be quite interesting to incorporate some automatic, let's see, tools or automatic analytics to identify potential mistake, gaps, or errors in the data, in the collected data. Afterwards, we initiate this process thinking to propose improvements for next iteration of this study. As I said before, I try to solve in the conclusion. Some of these improvements are in this direction, try to incorporate and find some analytics to identify problems in the data, facilitate the recollection of surveys, and also to obtain conclusion. This data based, let's see, determining techniques or artificial intelligence techniques or analytics on this data. Okay. Some results of these reports are reported and published. Oh, sorry. I don't know if you can see the report or not, because I open, but probably no, it's open only in my screen. So let me.
Yeah, we can see a bar chart and a pie diagram.
Okay, thank you. So the results are published in our website. In particular, in this regards, we are sharing this document prepared yearly, where we can find all the information collected and the main result regarding primary energy, final energy, and the energy consumption by sectors, the primary energy productions, and also the electricity generation in the region by different sources. So at the end, this results is compiled and provided in our website. Let me come back again to the presentation. You can see my screen, the presentation again.
Yep, we're back on the first slide.
Yeah, I don't know why. I tried to. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Just sharing the presentation again.
Yeah, we're now back on slide 7.
Yeah. I don't see the screen.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Cesar, you're
Okay.
confusing yourself with so many screens. How many screens have you got there?
Not only, not too many, only 2. Sorry.
Yeah, we can see the pie chart and the bar diagram.
Okay. Yeah. Here we go. Nice. Thank you for your patience.
No problem.
So jumping to the second report, to the electricity, the process is quite similar, but we are preparing this document per quarter. So here, the main idea, the main goal, the main challenge is this data classification by type and nature of the production sources. So we try to also tracking the key data in the energy sector aspect like sufficiency, emissions, or energy savings. So we try to provide related to this electricity generation, electricity production, additional information about savings, efficiency, emissions, or our mix or efficient self-sufficiency in the region. So the process is clearly the same, selection the objectives as to be clearly identify the indicators, select the providers. In this case, we based our collection on the public administration, the public authorities, more than the utilities themselves, as far as they are collecting from them this data. So we are in contact with the industry DG, with the energy DG, and other regional ministries in order to obtain this information to become public in our reports. So again, prepare and distribute the service manually using by email and using Word format is one of our main goals for the near future. Modify this collection procedure. and compile the data and evaluate using our internal sources, internal software to process this data. As I explained before, all data cleaning and cleansing are being done manually currently. And afterwards, okay. If you have some interest to see the report, let me know in order to avoid jumping to another screen. If so, I can save you at the end all document together. But now we jump into the solar report. We are trying to prepare a solar map in Asturias, based of a specific meteorological station distributed and maintained by us in the region. With two main objectives: the identification and the zoning of the level of radiation in Asturias, and also identifying the sited areas. Quite useful in this moment where a lot of entities, especially big companies, mining companies, in using the lands for PV system, let's see. So in this sense, this report is quite useful to have a clear picture about the best areas, lands to install some PV farms. Taking this into account, we have deployed 13 data measurement stations with specific equipment distributed around Asturias. We download the data manually, so we need move periodically, physically to the station. So here clearly you can see some degrees of improvements in this method to collect the data. We are in the process to modify and update and commission the new system to provide the data by internet. And we have received the information. We collect this information, and we initiate the analytics to prepare properly the data to show in the maps. So currently we have ongoing renewal and commissioning of equipment to the obsolescence, and we are continuous maintenance the equipment for proper functioning. So it's a tricky aspect. Probably you know, if you are easy to work with the in the real world with real devices, that the things change abruptly. So keeping the system devices working properly is not so easy, especially we are talking about data, and keeping the data flow alive during the year is a quite challenging task for us. In any case, we are continually trying to improve in the system collection, and we are currently trying to modify this system to promote as a remote monitoring system. These are the stations, the solar radiation sensor, and this is the data collected and the graphs and results of our study. So I don't remember, but I think this 10 kilometers of the grid of this map is 10 kilometers square. So it's quite useful when you are planning some PV farms in some specific lands in the territory. Okay, so we jump to the last but not least instrument I would like to share with you. This is the Just Transition Observatory. The main objective of this observatory is just to address and enable and support the dissemination of the energy transition process in Asturias from a social, just, and sustainable perspective. We are providing by these tools for cities, for the current people, and the capability to increase the citizen participations, and also try to promote the dissemination of the process of the just transition mechanism process and funds in Asturias. So we are trying to implement the monitoring and assessment stages and of our just transition process as far as the territorial just transition plan was ongoing, and we are in the moment to initiate the monitoring stage. Also supporting energy and climate strategies, because the link in between the three elements, the three policy instruments, are quite close in Asturias. Evaluating the degree of execution and fulfillment of action, but also funds in and objectives, indicators in the regional strategies, specifically in the Just Transition 1. So this is okay. I think that at the end of the presentation, I try to show some how this observatory currently is. But in any case, let me jump to we have some capture showing the information within this observatory. Not only information about energy, also about investment, about jobs, about gender balance. So there are, I think that 500 indicators or something like that into the observatory. But in any case, quite summarized information and reported information to show. So we are also working in other regional reports, like the studies mentioned previously. One relevant for REGIO1st is that we are quite in contact with the energy refurbishment, rehabilitation of buildings planned in Asturias. But we have all other documents like self-construction procedure or municipal energy management guides. Currently, we are participating in one regional methodology for the preparation and implementation and sustainable energy and climate energy plans, the famous SECAPs in our municipalities, and another kind of reports. And finally, before Michael advised about the time, last slide, just to summarize our main conclusion in this data collection process. So the main conclusion for us is that we need to move forward to improve our data collection process by online questionnaires. Because the collection of this and delivering of this service is probably the most tricky point. One suggestion is just clearly set hard deadlines supported by our public regional authorities, especially for delivering this service for the planning and projects. We try to reduce the number of participants in these service collections and avoid the manual collection and the manual, not only collection, also analysis in this preliminary stage of data cleansing, data cleaning. And last but not least, we are implementing one engagement plan for these data providers, public and private, because we need, by these engagement plans, try to improve this data collection as far as they may understand the relevance, the regional relevance of sharing this information with us, but not only with us, because this means with the whole actors, main stakeholders in the region. And that's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Ira Neofitu, and I'm working with Andriana and George for the Decision Support Systems Laboratory in ICCS. Today, we will explore the challenging procedure of developing an energy inventory. So, I'm going to present you some basic guidelines and examples regarding the calculations for energy consumptions. The presentation is divided in three parts. First, we will see briefly some things about the energy inventory and the advanced inventory tool. The second part includes a discussion about some horizontal considerations, and then we will see the main part of the presentation, which includes the methodology and examples of all the examined sectors. And finally, I will provide you with some ideas on how to conduct an energy consumption analysis. Of course, don't hesitate to interrupt me in case you have any questions. it does not just. Do you see the next slide? Okay. So let me begin with the energy inventory tool of the REGIO1st project. As you can see, the inventory is organized in a table format. And in this table, we have the different energy sources listed as columns, like electricity, heating oil, gasoline, solar, thermal, and others. And we have also the different energy sectors represented in the rows. With this type of layout, we can understand better, we can visualize how each one of these energy sector contribute to the energy consumptions through the various energy sources. The advanced inventory tool allow the planners to identify more specific values in order to obtain more precise estimations. For instance, in the building sector, some useful data might be the number of buildings or the floor area or the building type and others. In the transport sector, some useful data might be the number of vehicles, the type of vehicles, the mileages per vehicle type, and others. Moving on with the horizontal considerations, while we search for data, we have to pay attention to measurement units. And we can take into consideration 3 questions. First, what energy measurement units the data sources use? Second, what energy measurement units do we need? For instance, in the inventory, it's very common to use the units of kilowatt hours and megawatt hours. And then we have to decide if we need conversions and what type of conversions, because conversions are essential in order to be consistent and in order to compare energy consumptions from different energy sources. Now let's take a closer look on how we quantify energy and the units we use to measure it. First of all, we use metric prefixes. Very common metric prefixes in the energy inventory are the kilo, the mega, and the giga. Metric prefixes allow us to grasp the different levels of energy data. In this table provides some basic conversions for better understanding of the procedure. For instance, if we have gigawatt hours and we want to go to megawatt hours, all we have to do is to multiply with 1000. Other common energy units are the joule and the tau. Here we have also some basic conversions between the energy units. There is a case where we might have the energy consumptions in fuel quantities, like volumes in liters or like mass in kilos or tons. In addition, we have 2 important conversion factors, the diesel for diesel and gasoline, which allow us to move directly from volume, from liters of diesel or gasoline to energy units, for instance, in kilowatt hours. We can also exploit the formula of density in order to move between mass and volume. And if we want to go to convert from energy units to mass units and vice versa, we can use net calorific values according to different fuel types. Let's proceed now with the main part of the presentation. Here you can see the sectors that we are going to examine. An energy inventory should at least cover the sectors in which the authorities intend to take some measures in order to achieve the energy efficiency targets. So any region could decide what sectors should include according to its needs. So here we will explore the building sector, which includes the residential, the tertiary, and the municipal buildings, the street lighting, the transport sector, including municipal fleet, public transport, and private transport. And then we will examine the agriculture sector and the renewable energy sources. Let's begin with the residential sector, in which we examine the inhabited houses, which are categorized usually in detached and in apartment buildings. So the first thing we have to do is to identify what type of activities are happening in the houses. And at the same time, we have to identify the energy sources that are used. For instance, we might have lighting, cooking, cooling, or other electric appliances which use electricity. We might have radiators which use heating oil or natural gas or biomass. Or we might have solar water heaters which consume solar thermal energy to providing hot water. In each sector, we follow same approach. So the first thing is to ask ourselves what is available. And the answer to this question could lead us on what methodology we should follow. So, for instance, regarding the electricity consumption in residential buildings, we have three indicative scenarios. In one scenario, we might have the sales data in the regional level. So these data are ready to use, and we can put it straightforward in the energy inventory. Of course, we might need first some conversions. In another case, we might have the electricity consumption of residential buildings, but in another level. For instance, in national level, or in the consumption of residential of a neighboring region. In that case, we could do some extrapolations. In another case, we might have consumption per capita or per household, and then all we have to do is some multiplications. So to illustrate this, let's see this example. Now we are looking for the electricity in residential buildings in our regional level. But all we know is the electricity of residential buildings in the country level. And we also know the population of the country and the population of the region. So now we can do an extrapolation by dividing the electricity of the country with the population, and then by multiply with the population of the region. And now we get the electricity of residential buildings in our regional level. In another example, we might have the electricity in residential per capita. Then we can multiply this number with the population of our region, and now we can get the electricity consumption in residential for our regional level. Moving on with the heating consumption in the residential buildings, we ask ourselves again what is available. There's a case where we have the sales data that are ready to use, and we can put it straightforward in the energy inventory. There is a case where we have the residential consumption in another level, and we have to do extrapolation as in the previous example. Or we might need, or we might have consumption per capita or per household, and again, we can do multiplication. However, there is a case where we might need to be more precise. And then we can search and find a variety of data in order to combine them and get more specific estimations. Let's say, for example, that we can find in the literature indicators for heating consumption based on the building's characteristics, or the number of households, or how many of these households have insulations, or the number of floors in the buildings. So let's say that we found in the literature indicators for heating oil consumption based on the categories of the house and based on the existence of thermal insulation. We have 4 different categories. One category for the detached houses that is divided in detached houses with thermal insulation and without thermal insulation, and 2 categories for the apartment buildings, one for the buildings with insulation and one for the buildings without thermal insulation. So this number basically indicates how many liters of heating oil are needed in order to heat 1 square meter of a detached house without thermal insulation. So in order to explore these 4 indicators, we have to identify what other data do we need. Of course, as you can see, we should find the floor area for each one of these categories. And we will need also the number of buildings, the number of detached houses, and the number of apartment buildings, and of course, how many of these buildings have insulation. So let's say that after our research, we found that 10,000 residences use heating oil for heating. The 70% of the houses belong to apartment buildings, and the 60% of the houses have thermal insulation. Moreover, we found some average house areas in detached houses, and which is 100 square meter, and the respective number in apartment buildings, which is 80 square meters. So what we have to do now? We take the 10,000 residences and we want to break down them in the 4 different categories in order to exploit the 4 different indicators for heating. So given that the 70% of the houses belong to apartment buildings, we can break down the 10,000 residences in detached houses and in apartment buildings. Given also that 60% of the houses have thermal insulation, we can break down further these 2 numbers in detached houses with and without insulation, and in apartment buildings with and without insulation as well. The last step is to use the average area, the average floor area for the detached and the apartment buildings in order to calculate the total area of each one of these 4 categories. So now we take these 4 results and we can put it in the initial table above each one of the indicators. So now we multiply each indicator with the respective area, and we can get in that way the diesel consumption for each category. The next step is to add all these numbers together. And then, of course, we have to use the conversion factor of diesel that indicates that 1 liter of diesel equals with 10 kilowatt hours. So now we have the consumption in kilowatt hours, and the last step, if we want, we can go from kilowatt hours to megawatt hours by dividing our result with 1,000. Let's move now on how we calculate the solar thermal energy for providing hot water from the solar water heaters. There is a case where we might have the population that use solar water heaters, and we could also have the average needs per person for hot water. In another case, we might have the solar radiation factor based on the location, which is also depends on the area of the house. We could also have the number of houses with solar water heaters and the total floor area of the houses. So in the first example, we have the solar energy in a yearly base per person, and we can multiply this number with the total people that use solar water heaters. In that way, we get the solar thermal in the region for 1 year. And in the second example, we have the solar radiation, which is based on the location and on the floor area of the house. And now we have to multiply this number with the total houses which have solar water heaters and the average floor area per house. And then we get again the total solar thermal energy for 1 year in the region. Let's move now to the tertiary sector. The tertiary buildings include offices, hotels, restaurants, shops, and other services. The first thing we have to do is to identify what activities are happening in these buildings, and at the same time, the respective energy sources. So we might have lighting, cooking, cooling, or other electric appliances which use electricity. We might have radiators for heating oil or natural gas, and we might have solar water heaters which use solar thermal energy for providing hot water. Regarding the electricity, we ask ourselves what is available. There is a case where we have ready regional data from sales data. There's a case where we might have the electricity consumption in tertiary buildings, but in another level, and then we have to do extrapolations. There is a case where we might have consumption per type of business and perhaps also the number of businesses per type, and then we have to do multiplications. I will not elaborate more on this because these methodologies are exactly the same with the methodologies in the electricity consumption on residential sector. Regarding now the heating consumption in tertiary buildings, there is a case where we might have sales data. We might need to do some extrapolations if we have the consumption in another level, or we might need to do a combination of extrapolation and subtractions in case, for instance, we have regional consumption of heating in other sectors and at the same time the total consumption in an upper level. So let's say that we have the heating oil consumption in the country level for all the sectors. All sectors include the tertiary buildings, the residential buildings, and the municipal buildings. We have also the buildings that use heating oil for heating in the national level and in the regional level. Let me note here that is more appropriate in this case to do the extrapolation with the buildings that use heating oil and not with the population. It's not forbidden, but it's better to get more precise results. So the first thing is to do an extrapolation in order to find the heating oil in the regional level, but for all the sectors. Moreover, we know, perhaps from a previous research, from previous calculations, the consumption of heating oil in the regional level, in residential buildings and in municipal buildings. So now the last step is to subtract these two numbers from the total heating oil consumption. And now we get the heating oil of tertiary in the regional level. Moving forward with the municipal sector, the municipal buildings include offices, schools, libraries, and other open facilities like stadiums. Again, here, first of all, we have to identify the activities that are happening in these buildings and the respective energy sources. We might have lighting, cooling, electric appliances which use electricity. We might have radiators for heating, which might use heating oil or natural gas, or we might have solar water heaters that use solar energy for providing hot water. Of course, let me remind you once again that all these activities and the energy sources are indicative examples. So the things here in the municipal buildings are more simple comparing with the residential and the tertiary sector, because it's very common to have the invoices from the regional authorities or the municipal authorities. So it's very common to have the sales data. But of course, in case we don't have them, we can do again extrapolations if we have consumptions in other levels. And this applies for both the electricity and the heating consumption in the municipal buildings. Regarding the public lighting, here we have basically the street and the square lighting. Again, it's common to have the invoices from the authorities. Let me note here that in case the sales are for perhaps 10 months and not 12 months, we can do some extrapolation with the months in order to obtain the energy consumption for one whole year. In another case, we might have, as I said earlier, consumption in another level. And now we can do extrapolation by using the total area of the region. For instance, in our example, we have two different consumptions for two neighboring regions and the respective area of the region. The first thing is to divide the total electricity consumption with the respective area. Then we can take an average of these two numbers, and the final step is to multiply this average number, this average consumption, electricity consumption per square kilometer, with the area of our region. And now we have the electricity, we have an estimation of the electricity consumed for public lighting in our region. Now let's proceed with the transport sector. We begin with the municipal fleet. As in the municipal buildings, again here the things are more easier because it's common to have the invoices from the regional authorities or the municipal authorities. Regarding now the public transport, here we have diesel consumption, and there's a case where we might have sales data which are ready to use. We can put it straightforward in the energy inventory. We might have consumption in another level, and now we can do extrapolation as previously, but it's more appropriate to use here the number of vehicles. But there is a case where we might need to be more precise, and we can search for a variety of data, and we can combine them to calculate more precisely the energy consumptions in order, let's say, to have less deviations from the actual consumption. So let's say that we have the number of bus routes. We have also the frequency of routes in a yearly base. And then we have two scenarios. We might have the distance per route, or we might have the duration per route and the average speed of the buses. We might have also an average consumption factor for all the buses in the region. And in that way, we can estimate the diesel consumption for public transport in our region. Let's start with the first scenario. So let's say that we have 3 different routes with their respective frequencies and the average distance for each route. I would like to mention here that the distances that we can find the distances, for instance, from Google Maps. We multiply these numbers together and we get the total distance that is covered from all the buses in 1 year for each one of the routes. We multiply these numbers with the average consumption factor for buses. We get the diesel consumption for each route. We can add them, and then after converting them from liters of diesel to kilowatt hours, we take the total diesel consumption in public transport for a regional level in kilowatt hours. In the second example, we have again the routes, the frequency, and now we have the duration per route and the average speed. We multiply them, we get the total distance per route, we multiply again with the consumption factor, we take the total diesel consumption for each route, we add them, and then we convert them with the conversion factor of diesel. Let's proceed now with private transport. Here it's very common. Let's say it's rare to have invoices or sales data. So in most cases, we will need to do perhaps a combination of extrapolations and subtractions. To illustrate this, let's see the following example, where we have the total diesel and gasoline consumption in country level for all the sectors. For the private for all the sectors of transport, which include the private transport, the public transport, the municipal fleet, and the agriculture sector, because agriculture have the tractors which consume diesel for cultivating the crops. We also have the number of vehicles and the respective shares of how many of these vehicles use diesel or gasoline. And we have also the respective numbers for the regional level. We also know from previous calculation or from a previous research the consumptions of the other sectors of municipal fleet, of public transport, and from agriculture sector in our regional level. So the first thing we want to do is to categorize the cars in diesel and in gasoline vehicles. Sorry, not only the cars, all of the vehicles, in order to do the extrapolations. So in that way, we can do 2 separate extrapolations for the diesel and the gasoline. And now we get the total diesel consumption and the total gasoline consumption in our regional level, but for all the transport sectors. So we can take these numbers, we can put it here in this table, and it is obvious that we can subtract the rest of the sectors from the total number of consumption, and in that way we get the diesel consumption for only the private transport in our region. Now let's see how we calculate the electricity consumption in agriculture. There is a case where we will have ready data to use from some invoices. There is a case where we might need extrapolations if we had consumptions in other levels. and be careful, it's better here to use the cultivated area. And regarding the diesel in agriculture, again, we might have regional data. We might need extrapolations if we have consumptions in other levels, or if we need to be more precise, we can search for the type and the area of crops in the regional territory. We can also find some relevant consumption factors in order to be more specific with our estimations. So let's say that we have 3 different types of crops. We have the areas per crop. We have the consumption factors, which basically this factor indicates how many liters a tractor needs in order to cultivate 1 acre of the respective crop. So we multiply them, we take the diesel consumption for each crop, we can add these 3 numbers, we use once again the diesel conversion factor, and we get the total diesel consumption in kilowatt hours for the agriculture sector in our regional level. In case the region have animals in livestock farming, the method is the same, but here we will have the animals, here we will have the number of the animals and the respective consumption factors per animal. So now let's see what we can do in case we want to calculate, in case we want to estimate the electricity produced from the renewable energy sources in our region. In this presentation, we focus only on the photovoltaic installations. So, first things first, we have to develop a list of all the PV installation of our regional territory with the respective capacities. And then we can use some online tools, or we can estimate our electricity using the following formula. In this formula, E stands for the electricity produced in kilowatt hours. A stands for the total area of the solar panels and is based on the PV technology. And for instance, we might have that 1 kilowatt of an installation need 8 square meters of panel. R stands for the solar panel efficiency, which we can find it in the literature and is also based on PV technology. H stands for the annual average solar radiation. We can find it also in reports, is based on location, and it depends on the area of the solar panels. And we have also the PR, which stands for the performance ratio. We usually get its default value, but of course we can find it in reports of our region. So in our example, we have 3 PV installations. We have the respective capacities, and the first thing is to calculate the total area of each one of these installations. So, given that we have a specific PV technology, we can exploit this factor, and now we have the panel area for each one of these installations. And then we multiply these numbers with the respective values, and we can get the electricity produced from each one of these installations. So once we have completed the energy inventory, we can conduct an energy consumption analysis using by developing some figures and calculating some indicators in order to compare our results with other regions, with the national statistics. And let me note that the figures and the indicators are essential tools in analyzing energy patterns. For instance, this figure represents the consumption shares per sector. And with a quick view, we can understand which sector consumes the largest amount of energy, which is the private transport, consuming more than a half of the total energy consumption. And for instance, which sector consumes the less amount, which in this case is the municipal fleet. Another important figure could be the consumption allocation per sector and per source. Here we have the real energy consumption. We have the consumption in gigawatt hours and not shares. Again, with a quick look, we can understand which sector consumes the most, and at the same time, we can understand which is the dominant energy source in each sector. For instance, in the private, more than half of the consumed energy is gasoline, and then we have diesel. And in the building sector, we can observe that the dominant energy source is the electricity. Another useful figure is the consumption allocation per source, but for the whole region. And obviously, the dominant energy source is the fossil fuels. And we can also observe that renewable energy sources in this hypothetical region plays a very small role. And of course, last but not least, we can develop some indicators. For instance, we can calculate the electricity in residential sector per capita, or the total consumption of electricity in the tertiary sector per number of buildings, or even the gasoline, the consumption of gasoline per private car. With the indicators, we can compare our energy system, our energy consumptions with other neighboring regions or with the national statistics. And of course, we can monitor the results of our energy inventory and track its progress. So that's all from my side.
Yep, that's it, Nina. Thank you.
Sorry for the delay.
Yeah, great.
Okay, I will talk to you about our data collection experience and analysis, and how we overcame some problems that we faced during this experience. Shortly, I will just say something about our county and our planning context, just for you to get the idea of how many data or little data we could gather. So our county is located in the north of Croatia. It is the smallest county out of 20 counties in Croatia. By the last census in 2021, we had a bit over 105,000 people living in Međimurje County. The area that Međimurje covers is 729.58 square kilometers, with a population density of 144.26. We have 3,022 municipalities, so 25 local authorities altogether, and we have 131 villages or settlements. Next slide, please. Here is the planning context for Međimurje County. So regional authorities are mandated to adopt a 3-year energy efficiency action plan. Other than regional authorities, large cities also have to adopt this document. It is mandated by the Croatian Energy Efficiency Act. There is also a development plan developed and in effect that is an umbrella document which prescribes the main development principles and needs of the county. Next slide, please. So those both documents were implemented and developed in 2022. The Međimurje County Energy Efficiency Plan covers the sectors of buildings and transport, because those are the sectors that Međimurje County, as the regional authority, can mostly influence and make decisions on measures and investments. The development plan of Međimurje County is developed until 2027. It is a strategic plan that defines the framework for further development of the county, and it includes three sectors: the sustainable economy, healthy, inclusive, and resilient society, and green and digital county. Here on the left side, I also included some other programs and plans that our regional authority has to develop and implement. Next slide, please. So the biggest energy plan is the Energy Efficiency Action Plan in Međimurje County. For this document, we have to gather data on transport and on buildings, public buildings, because those are the, as I said, sectors that regional authority has the most influence over. Public lighting is not included in our Energy Efficiency Action Plan because public lighting is under the jurisdiction of local authorities in Croatia. Next slide, please. I just wanted to showcase that we are also in development of an energy and climate action plan called ECA Plus, which is a pilot document that will be developed under the CSU Digit project, which is also a life program project. MENEA is one of the partners. This is a new type of uniform, holistic, and cross-sectoral energy and climate plan for regional implementation, and it aims towards just transition to define the just transition, energy security, energy poverty, and addresses climate change. Next slide, please. Okay, so how do you choose your inventory year? You have to make sure that the data you will need is available to you. You have to also take into account possible disruptions of energy consumption. For this energy inventory data collection template, we chose the year 2019 because this is the realest consumption we could have. 2020 was the year of the COVID-19 pandemic, so the consumption wouldn't be realistic. The same goes for 2021 and 2022. We didn't have all the data available at the time because by the time we were deciding which year to use for this energy inventory data, we didn't have, which was last year, we didn't have all the data for 2022. Okay, so this is the energy demand inventory, which was shown to you by Hira before. Here you can see all of the data we could gather for several sectors. So we could gather data for electricity, natural gas, heating oil, and other biomass. Okay, so here you can see the data for regional and municipal buildings that for electricity. So the data we gathered here was from the Energy Efficiency Action Plan and also from the energy management system that we have access to. So Međimurje County has had in 2019 135 buildings in its ownership, or they were owned by its institutions. MENEA monitors the energy and water consumption throughout this national energy management system. In the right corner, you can see what this management system looks like. So we have data on. So this is our web application. It is used to monitor and analyze energy and water consumption in buildings in the public sector. So we can gather data per energy sources and per year and per month, and for all buildings separately. Yes. Okay, so For this electricity energy consumption, we had to assume some data. We had the data for regional buildings from the regional authority, which was 6,195.94 megawatt hours. We had to estimate the number of other local public buildings. So we multiplied the number of the regional the regional buildings. We multiplied it by 60, so we got the number of 3,717, which we assume is the consumption of other local public buildings. We then added those two data together and got the final consumption number of 9,913.50 megawatt hours, which is in the ratio of 62.5% for regional authority buildings and 37.5 for other local public buildings. Here we have, I will show you how we got the data for natural gas, heating oil, and other biomass for regional and local buildings. So in our energy efficiency action plan, we had data available for natural gas and heating oil and other biomass only for regional buildings. We then, like before for electricity, added 60% to get some data on the total consumption. So this is the estimated number for 37,000 is for natural gas, 244 is heating oil, and other biomass is 103. For the public lighting, we got this data from the statistical yearbook, which is a publication that presents important numerical data about our county and compares them with the data of Republic of Croatia and other counties. It gathers data not only for energy, but also for employment or other relevant sectors. So public lighting was readily available in this statistical yearbook. Important thing to note here is that since natural gas is the data for natural gas was shown in cubic meters, so we had to convert the units of measurement to get them in megawatt hours, so we could include them in this table because all data in this table is shown in megawatt hours. Here we have other tertiary buildings. We also, the data for electricity, for example, we calculated it from the statistical yearbook. There we had data on all of the data on electricity consumption of entrepreneurship, and we subtracted the electricity consumption of the public sector, which was calculated in some rows before this. So we avoided double rendering of consumption. Natural gas, we had the exact data from the statistical yearbook document. We only had to convert the cubic meters into megawatt hours to fill in the table. For heating oil and other biomass, we didn't have the exact data, but we estimated that of the total consumption of natural gas and electricity, 5% is heating oil and 5% is other biomass. For residential buildings and industry that are not ETS, we had the exact data, so we took it from the statistical yearbook. Also for the natural gas, for the heating oil, we, same as before, had to calculate it. So we assumed it was 5% of total consumption. As for the other biomass, we just estimated this data according to the natural gas consumption. Because residential buildings, this is multi-story apartments and private houses. Private houses, the region of Međimurje is located mostly in rural areas, so people use wood for heating. Okay, so here we have the sector of transport. We could gather data for diesel and for gasoline for regional municipal fleet, for personal vehicles, for bus, public transport by bus and public transport by train, also private and commercial transport. So we had the data of for the vehicles owned by Medjugorje County from the Energy Efficiency Action Plan. We took that number, multiplied it by the average number of kilometers traveled, also the average consumptions, to get the overall consumption, which we then divided 50% for diesel vehicles and 50% for gasoline vehicles. Here you can see how we calculated this. So let's say we have 105 vehicles. The average kilometers traveled per year per car is 12,500. This number is then multiplied by the average consumption per 1 kilometer. We, as Hira said before, we had to calculate how many liters of diesel is in megawatt hours, so we could multiply those numbers and get the estimated amount for both diesel and gasoline for municipal and regional fleet. As for public transport, we don't have exact data, so we had to make an estimation. Okay, so for the public transport, this is referring to buses. We had to find the number of bus operators for student transportation and the number of lines that are carried out. We then calculated the total number of kilometers per working day, per weekends and per holidays. We had to add the total daily kilometers traveled to get a result on a weekly basis. When we got that number, we multiplied it by 40 weeks, which is kind of the average because school doesn't run the whole year. So when we got the final number, we had to multiply it by the average consumption, which we assumed is 30 liters per 100 kilometers for buses. So all bus lines together were 676 kilometers per year, which we then multiply by the average consumption per 1 kilometer. And then we had to calculate how much diesel is 1 megawatt hour. And we got to the number of 2,150 megawatt hours for buses. The same goes with trains. We had to look for data that was available online. So we looked at the railway network in Medjugorje County. We looked at the distance between train stations and how the timetable of the trains. So we had to calculate the kilometers per route, then multiply them by the daily number of trains per route, which we then calculated by the number of weeks per year, which is also 40 weeks per year. So we got a number of 3,919.44 kilometers per year. The average consumption per year per 1 kilometer was then multiplied by kilometers per year, and the liters of diesel were calculated into megawatt hours to get the number of 5,589.89 megawatt hours for rates. This slide refers to the private and commercial transport. So we needed the data of registered vehicles. This was available from the police. It could be also available from the Department for Motor Vehicles. So we got the number of vehicles to be 57,000 registered vehicles in 2019. So from that number, we had to subtract the vehicles owned by Medjugorje County and other municipalities to avoid double rendering. We then also took the average kilometers per year to be 12,500. The average consumption per 1 kilometer was 0.07 or 7 liters per 100 kilometers. same as before, we had to convert the liters into megawatt hours, and then the total number we divided by 2 to get 50% for diesel vehicles and 50% for gasoline vehicles, because we didn't have the exact number how many diesel and gasoline vehicles there were registered. For the agriculture, forestry, fishery, we had no public data available for our county. Maybe the data is available on request. I have to check what Hira said in her presentation to see if we can take that into account. Here we have the energy production for 2019. So we have a publicly available data from a document called Energy in Croatia. For the hydroelectric, we have 2 hydro power plants in Međimurje County. Both have the capacity of 157.20 megawatts. We then, from the annual report of HIP ODS, this is the national DSO for electricity. We got the data on how much renewable electricity was produced by this hydro power plants, which is 779,900. As for the photovoltaics, the number, as it states here, is publicly available from the document annual report of our national DSO for electricity. The renewable installed capacity in megawatt hours for Međimurje County was 11.60 in 2019. We then had to calculate the electricity production in megawatt hours. So we took the total installed capacity of photovoltaic power plants, multiplied it by the average annual production of photovoltaic power plants per kilowatt, which is 1,150, and divided that by 1,000 to get the number in megawatt hours. Here is the local electricity production plants, referring to combined heat and power from non-renewable sources. For this, we didn't have exact data for our region, but we took the Energy in Croatia document and extrapolated the data. So we used the method of the total area of Međimurje County. We divided it by the area of the whole Republic of Croatia to get a percentage. And then we took the whole electricity production from Croatia calculated it and got that 1.22% of Međimurje County equals 202 megawatt hours of combined heat and power electricity produced. The local heat and coal production plants from non-renewable sources, we have this publicly available in a register called Register of Renewable Energy Sources, Cogeneration and Privileged Producers. Okay, so depending on the sector and the type of data you need, or in our case, we need, in most cases, the exact data is easily available. If certain data needs to be researched and estimated based on available data, you can extrapolate it, or you can estimate based on available data. And do not get this, don't let this discourage you when you are planning and creating your data analysis and energy plans.